Okay, so here I did prepare the repository I was using for tests for our buildable because it's completely based on GitHub Actions, and I will just, show you a little bit more about GitHub Actions from scratch, like from Hello World they have. So basically to create GitHub Actions, you just need to add .github workflows folder in your repository. And here, for example, we have GitHub Actions demo. So basically GitHub Actions is kind of, script to create CI/CD pipeline for your repository. And it has its own, variables, environment, and how it runs, and everything is controlled by script. So for example, if we go here, we will see that, we have GitHub Actions demo and its name that, it's testing our GitHub Actions, and it has conditions on which it will run, for example, on push, on pull, or using webhooks. And if you use webhooks, you're able to provide kind of more variables for it. So it will not, just like push happened, we just run it. And it has jobs. So each job has its own inputs and outputs. You may not use them. For example, like here, we have only one job, which is called Explore GitHub Actions, and which runs on Linux, Ubuntu latest, and it has its own steps, like echo, and etc. So, as I told you before, GitHub Actions, they also have their own variables, and which is also very important, they have their own secrets. So they are configured inside of settings, secrets and variables, and actions. So here you can specify secrets and variables for, all of your environment. For example, I was using here Discord webhook and Google Drive credentials. So Google Drive credentials is kind of JSON format, and Discord webhook is just a URL where we will send our messages. So you can then use them here. For example, like, using this, you can specify like secrets, etc. Secrets, Discord webhook. So I do not recommend do that because it will just echo your secret. And same thing with variables. And also GitHub Actions has a quite big marketplace of free, created by someone, kind of, templates for, I don't know, sending messages to Discord, pushing something to Google Drive, or anything else. It's like helpers for you to complete your build pipeline. So if you want to use something from it, you can use it just by setting that, on the step, we can say that, this step uses, I don't know, they also have kind of, their own GitHub, templates. So you can do like actions, checkout, and provide version of it like this. So after that, if we run the script, it will just pull everything from repository and will continue doing its thing. And also you may have runners, just like, build agents you have in TeamCity, and you may have them like here. So if you specify, for example, here Ubuntu latest, it will just use, resources provided from GitHub to, virtually run all of this stuff. And if you want to create your own runner, you just need to configure it, and then you will be able to specify it. So, for example, I want to run this on my PC. Then I will, change this to runs on self-hosted Windows x64, yeah. And then it will just push everything to my PC and will run on it. So, for example, if we want to, by the way, it makes everything kind of insecure. So you want to make sure that, all of the sensitive data is inside of secrets. For example, if I want to just update what I have in plastic, for example, in AI voice, I can just add step called, plastic update workspace, and which will just run, cd j plastic AI voice, and will show status and will do update. So yeah, this data, like, the paths and everything else is kind of needs to be secured, because you don't want, anyone to see that. And if I just commit my changes, we have, running on push commit. So after that, it will just start that action immediately. And here we can see how it's going. Actually, I guess it will see that there's error because, oh no. Yeah, run cd, cs. Yeah, here you can see. That's it. So here we have that, update plastic workspace, and it shows that we did, move to that folder, and then we did run status, and then we did run update workspace. It says that is up to date. So building process goes like, for example, in buildable, we just, go into the folder, and then we start Unreal. Like, I mean, first we go to the folder, then we update data from plastic, workspace, and then we start Unreal to actually build the project. And when it's done, if step was successful, we will just zip the artifact and upload it to Google Drive. So if you want to see something more, I can show you how we can send message to Discord. So I was also using action provided by one of the community members. So let's do that. Okay, here it is. I just copied it. So here after update, we want to send some message to Discord. We just, use this action with specified data. So for example, here in embeds, we can add something like, I don't know, title, blah, blah. Description, which will be empty. Let me just do this, like just copying it. So we have color and some fields for this embed, which will be like name, blah, and then value, blah, two, and I don't know, we can just leave it as is. And then we just close fields, close this, close the array. So yeah, this should work. So it's just using Discord webhook, and I just copied it from Builder, and it uses embeds to set message attributes. And if I commit my changes again, after this step, you will see that we will have this message inside of our Discord control buildable. Not sure if it will work, but it should work. Okay, complete. So that's ready. Sorry, that's my fault. So yeah, you can see that, if something is bad, it will just not work. It will just say that step is not successful, and it will stop the pipeline. So I guess this thing is second. Sorry. Like that. Yeah. So I did another push. It will start action again. And actually, it looks like TeamCity. So it has its commands, it runs everything, and you can specify where to run it. And I guess I need to mention that. Oh yeah, here we go. Here we have that message.
Yeah, just
So
setting
if you
things
wanna,
down.
if you wanna run this on environment provided by GitHub, you should have, how's it called? Subscription, yeah, to it. Because if you do not have subscription, you can run this only locally on your machine. And the main problems I have had with actions is that a lot of actions, like, send something to Discord or upload artifacts to Google Drive, they are written to be containerized, for example, which means that when it runs on local machine, it will just, pull the container from Docker and run that container, providing all of the information it needs, instead of, just locally running these commands in your machine. And the second problem was in that a lot of them are just for Linux, so it will not work for Windows. And also, there's a problem with an environment setup on Windows. I don't know why, but GitHub, they say that you cannot have an environment set up on Windows, only for Linux. And if you, want to specify environment variables, it will work only for Linux. Which makes things harder because, for example, we need to build with Unreal and we cannot have, Linux building for Unreal Windows, and yeah. And building on Windows is quite faster, actually. I mean, on Windows for Windows, yeah. So you can use cross compile, but it's quite hard. So I guess that's it. If you have any questions, maybe.
So for the stuff that we need with like building the game, checking the blueprints and all that kind of stuff, which this is like, I guess, less to do with GitHub Actions and more to do with just like the scriptability of Unreal Engine. But do you think that there's enough? Do you think we're going to be able to achieve what we want to do with GitHub Actions and scripting Unreal? Or
I
do you?
think yes, because it's not only scripting.
Mhm.
As you could see, we have a lot of community actions, which means that, you can create your own action and you can write your action using, Node.js, for example, or C#, and
Yep.
you can provide, kind of utilities to have all of that functionality you need. For example, you do not need, like me, create a script to, get all of the information from Plastic and blah, 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 etc. And we can have it as a utility, like, run these commands, return us something. And that's why I've mentioned that we have inputs and outputs. We can, specify input for a job and tell it, like, please build from this folder, or, send this message.
The market, when I looked at this a couple of days ago, I noticed that the marketplace has pretty much nothing for Unreal. There's a couple of things, like maybe like
Yeah,
5
and
things in
that's why
total.
we are creating this
Yeah,
thing for Unreal.
yeah. Like the actions themselves could be like something that we put on the marketplace for Unreal, and also for Plastic. I don't think there was anything for Plastic there either.
Yeah, I saw that they have something, for Unreal, but it was completely abandoned, and it was,
Yeah.
I don't know, like, for building specified project only. I mean, their project. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to build our project using GitHub Actions, please use this script. So it's not generic, it's
Yeah.
only for that project. So So our goal is to get something generic, which will just integrate itself into Plastic, and every time you push something into Plastic, Plastic sends webhook to GitHub Action. GitHub Actions gets all the information it needs. It can read, for example, your registry on Windows machine to determine where Unreal is located to to determine which version of Unreal you want to start to build specified project, because your project may be on Unreal 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, and you may
And you
have
said,
all of
hang
those.
on. So you said that you can't have environment variables on Windows.
Yeah, I was trying
That's
to use
weird.
environment, but it said that,
Yeah,
oh, sorry, environment is only available for Linux. So I'm just, creating kind of workaround on that.
because it seems weird to not, for example, to be able to control the path. Ideally, you could write your scripts that just say, Unreal Engine editor.exe space whatever. You wouldn't have to supply the path more than once. It would just
Yeah, it's not completely environment-less. It just doesn't allow you to
use
use.
the you'd like have to run something to update the path or something, rather
Yeah, as
than
I told you, jobs
yeah.
have, inputs and outputs. So, for
Hmm.
example, here we have like, build job, yeah?
Mm.
And then you can specify on another job something like, build job, outputs, blah, 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 and it will
Uh-huh.
work. So
But
the problem that
but
it,
but the jobs do run in their own isolated containers.
no,
If you unless you, maybe on self-hosted it doesn't, but like by default, uh, the all of the jobs will run in a in a separate container, because I remember having difficulties with that, wanting to set up some, for example, some databases and then do some stuff after the databases were set
yeah,
up.
yeah, you're right. On that part, yes. I
Yeah,
was telling you that, you can do things like that, just jump out of the environment you have at the moment. And yeah, the
but
problem
you
is,
can't.
yes.
Yeah, like if you change, for example, the path, you can't. That path doesn't get changed for all of the subsequent jobs that use it. You have to create some kind of artifact, or the outputs thing, which will get serialized and then sent to the next job.
Yeah,
Yeah,
as I told you, for example, job, you
yeah,
know, one job has its own output. You
mm,
can run it to set up environment stuff, and then
yeah,
use outputs from, first job to, you on in the second job or third or
yeah.
fourth, etc. The main thing it was complaining about, it doesn't like something like this, environment and variable. It says that
Sure.
no environment is not
Yeah.
possible in on Windows. That's
Okay.
it.
Okay.
So
Cool.
for example,
So
here,
you could basically create your own environment object that you just pass around as
yeah,
the
it uses
output or
kind
something.
of
Yeah.
objects called context for that.
Yeah.
So job has its own context, as environment, and you can get variables from it. The main problem is, for example, if you run something, you can't do like this, and something equals something.
Mm.
That's it.
So I'd also be interested in how this works, or how well it works for building Unreal projects. Like, as in, you don't want it to have to pull down, you know, an 80 gigabytes worth of data, just to run, like a two-line code change, right? So I think we'd probably have to use some kind of, caching thing in there, so that when it runs the thing, it doesn't have to start from scratch. Again, this
Yeah.
is going to be probably a bit. It'll be different eh, for self-hosted versus like using one of their machines. Like with self-hosted, you can keep it running, um, but with their machines, like you kind of have to start from scratch, and I'm sure there'll be something in there.
Because I know, yes. Let
You
me
have
see.
to. I don't
Because
know
I
what.
remember in runners, you can create your own. So, GitHub-hosted runner.
Right. Right.
Like, I have self-hosted, and yeah, I guess you can create not self-hosted because, this makes everything weird. Like, if you cannot have something, with cache, like you said, downloading 8 GB of data, and every time you push something, you will download Unreal to build it. It's weird.
Well, it's
So
more of the problem that I found in the past was it just took too long. So, for example, when we would build something, this is a Node.js project, and it would, if we didn't cache Node modules and do a bunch of messing around to make sure that it did the minimum amount of work possible, it would end up, like a build would take an hour for something which, if you run it locally, it would, should only take a couple of minutes. But the problem is that it needed to install all that stuff from scratch. So things like, for example, the DDU, the distributed cache, like the intermediates and all that stuff. Yeah, we should chuck into a cache. We should um, figure out a way to like cache keep the plastic repo cached. I think there'll be a little bit of work here in getting it like running in an efficient manner. But yeah, okay. I mean, it looks like you're on top of things, which is really cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the main problem is here that you could see I was wandering pages. They have larger GitHub hosted runners,
Hmm.
and I guess you can create one here, but not sure how it works actually, because everything I was doing on my machine
Uploaded, yeah.
using self-hosted because that made more sense.
Mm.
So maybe it's easier just to have, I don't know, just to order some Windows servers with and install Unreal on them and just use them as a runners instead of using what GitHub provides because
Well,
it's not cheap as I know.
yeah, I don't think it's that expensive. So long as it doesn't spend like download sizes and all that kind of stuff. That's usually pretty cheap, but it's like CPU time that costs money. Um, and yeah, with efficient caching, you can get that down pretty low. Um, yeah,
Also, they have caches. Yeah.
yes, they have caches, but you have to set them up. And that I have fought with these things a bunch, like because yeah, you have to invalidate them under certain circumstances, all this kind of stuff. I'm not sure what the best way forward is, but I feel like we should try to get it running on their infrastructure, so then we don't have to worry about it. I mean, that's part of um, the whole idea behind getting it onto GitHub Actions. Um, yeah, but and on top of that, that would be a more viable route for other people to use as well. So if we're going to go for a community distributing this as sort of a part of our control framework stuff, um, having it self-hosted, I think,
I
makes
agree
it more
with that.
complicated. Yeah,
Yep.
less appealing for others. But
Yeah, I agree because, for example, if you want to use self-hosted, you know, teams, they, actually do not have spare machines that they can, install Unreal and have them, 24/7 running. And yeah.
mm,
Also, you can use that on your local machine, but for example, if I turn off my PC, it will not work.
right, yeah. Or if you're like building something locally, and then somebody submits a job, then your PC is going to crawl to a halt. Plus, the job's going to crawl to a halt. Yeah.
Yeah, and you also need to work on your PC actually.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, for example, you have the job of building project running. You cannot open any other project because compile it because it will say that conflicting instance of Unreal Heater tool or Unreal Build tool is working right now. So this stops you from everything.
Yep. Okay, cool.
Okay. Yeah, we just need to figure out how to cache things then.
Yep.
All right, we'll figure that out.
Next step. Yeah, really cool.
Nice
Great
job.
work. Yeah.
Thank you, Brad. Appreciate it.